You believe a formalized investigation by the House is the best path forward to obtain the records and disclose them to the people.
Yes.
You've made a commitment, and our resolution makes a commitment to disclose everything that can possibly be disclosed short of violating the privacy rights of others.
Yes, ma'am, 100%.
And by having the full House vote and speak in support of this investigation, it will be helpful to you in executing the mission that you're about. Is that correct?
Absolutely. If we have to go to court for something, if it's a good bipartisan vote in the House of Representatives, that only helps.
Okay. I appreciate that very much. Mr. McGovern.
Thank you very much. First, I think I want to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the Massey-Kana resolution, because you keep on saying that it doesn't protect the victims, but there's in yellow here, there's some pretty explicit language about protecting the identity of the victim, so I don't want there to be any confusion.
Without objection.
And, Mr. Comer says it's unnecessary, but this bill we're doing right now is unnecessary because you're already doing something. So I can't help but feel that this is like cover. And I got to be honest with you, we've been trying to bring, legislation to the floor. We're trying to, amend bills to try to get this administration to do what Trump said he was going to do during the campaign, and that is release all the files. We had a recess early because people didn't want to take a vote on it. And I think, I appreciate the niceties of both of you appearing before this committee right now, but I got to tell you, I think what's going on here today is the Republicans are terrified. And I think we all know why. And that is because the president doesn't want to release all the files. I mean, after promising that he would release them during the campaign, then he issued, that was in 2024, and then 2025, he says, it's all a big hoax. It's perpetrated by Democrats and some stupid Republicans. That's his quote verbatim. So when you say all Republicans want this stuff released, I don't think that guy does.
That's right.
And what you're telling us that you're going to release some of the files tonight, if I heard Mr. Garcia correctly, 97% of which is already out in public. So we get 3% that's new. I don't know what it's going to say. But I just don't understand what the big deal is. Why can't the administration just release the files? You can do the investigation, but just release all the files. Trump and the people he put in charge of the FBI and the DOJ promised that they would. And it's just kind of strange that they haven't done so yet. I mean, don't you think? I mean, we just want to know, what are they trying to hide? Why is this such a difficult thing for them to do? Before we left for recess, you guys all told us that you wanted to release the files and that a non-binding resolution authored by Mr. Norman was an important step forward to getting the Epstein files released. Why hasn't that been called up yet? Mr. Scott had the authority to do so for weeks. He could do so this week. Hasn't done it. I don't know why not. Maybe Mr. Norman can explain to us why his Epstein resolution never made it to the floor. Maybe Mr. Scott can tell us why, would like to share with us why he decided not to call up the rule for its consideration when it was well within his power to do so. But honestly, the answers they give really don't matter, because the resolution was nothing more than a distraction to buy time. And I think we're doing the same again today. But today's resolution is even worse. At least Mr. Norman's do-nothing resolution had a deadline of 30 days. If I'm reading your resolution correctly, there's no deadline. It's just an open-ended distraction with the same goal. Protect the powerful, hide the files, and buy some time for people to forget. So, all that has to happen for the files to be released is one thing. The Trump administration needs to release them. That is all. And if that's too complicated for some Republicans to get their arms around, that's okay, because they're in luck. Someone has already done the work for them, because there is a bipartisan bill offered by Mr. Massey and Mr. Kana that would force the administration to release the Epstein files while protecting the victims. And Mr. Comer, just for the record, I think I think you're not in support of the Massey counter bill, but let me ask you formally, I mean, do you support the Massey counter bill to release the Epstein files?
We're doing that as we speak. And you said some of the documents were going to be released. All 34,000 documents will be online, hopefully in the next 5 minutes, if they're not now.
Yeah, but 97% of which we've already seen. Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, first, appreciate the comments, but we should be clear. I mean, if it's true, as the chairman said, that every Republican supports disclosure around the Epstein files, then every Republican should sign the discharge petition from Congressman Khanna and Congressman Massey. There's no question. And the key difference in that petition as well is that petition ensures, one, that members of Congress are all on the record on releasing the files, and two, that petition, as you have in front of you, also ensures that the files actually go to the American public, that they're actually released to the public. I appreciate that the subpoena that we forced a vote on is going to our committee, and it's important work. Most of the documents that were sent to our committee, those initial documents were given to right-wing influencers back in February. The files and the full report, according to the Attorney General, were sitting on her desk ready to be released. We know that the Attorney General herself has shared with the president directly that he is also in the files. The reason, and we don't understand why this cover-up by the president continues to not release the full files. And so the discharge petition is an important additional step forward for the Congress, the full Congress, to be on record to release the full files. And so that piece is important. And it's clear that, well, maybe there are some Republicans in Congress, and hopefully all, that want to see disclosure. That is not the case with the Republicans in the White House and the Department of Justice.
So 7 months to get released, 97% of which already been released. But again, Mr. Comer, I mean, do you support the Massey counter resolution, yes or no?
We're already doing it. And let me say, the discharge petition does not have the force of law. We've already subpoenaed.
You can begin by
look,
saying no, and I'll let you.
No, look, Mr. McGovern,
Yes,
it's very disappointing that you're trying to politicize this. We're trying to get answers. We're trying to do everything that's in this discharge petition, but you're trying to politicize it.
No, it's a yes or no question. It's not a trick question. I mean, do you think...
We've already done what the discharge petition's asking.
Do you think the resolution saying to keep doing what you were doing is better than a bill that can become law?
The bill has no force of law. It has no force of the law.
Yeah.
You're just trying to do a political stunt.
Look, ask the question, Mr. McGovern. Let him answer.
Well, I was asking a question. He interrupted me.
Okay.
It's a simple yes or no question. Simple yes or no question.
We're already doing it.
All right. Well, that's not a yes or no. But do you think the resolution saying to keep doing what you were doing is better than a bill that can become law, which would require the release of all the files?
It doesn't have the force of the law. It's just a political stunt. It's just a political stunt. And you know,
this is a resolution. The counter is a Massey counter bill would become law. If all you Republicans want everything released, then you could vote for it, and then if he decides to veto it, you could override the veto.
The subpoena goes further than the discharge petition. Discharge petition is just a political stunt. Just a political stunt.
All right, so
and look, we have done everything bipartisan in this investigation. This is an opportunity. And I think most of the Democrats on the Oversight Committee want to be bipartisan in this, Mr. McGovern.
So you're not going to answer my question, but look, we're meeting here under an emergency procedure to consider this resolution, which, if I'm reading it right, simply tells your committee to continue doing what you're doing. Do you need this resolution to continue doing what you're doing, Mr. Garcia? I mean...
We don't. The resolution as presented is not necessary. Again, we want disclosure. We want the files released. But what should have happened is we should vote on the discharge petition and move it forward and then continue our work. Can I say one more thing, Mr. Ranking Member? I also want to be clear that the DOJ has not been forthcoming or presented everything that we've asked for in the subpoena. And I think it's important that even in our recent interaction with the DOJ, they're essentially now not giving us any new additional information as to when we're receiving the rest of the files. And so having Congress act and taking a vote on the full release of the files is an important additional step, which is why the discharge petition is important. And the resolution should not somehow take precedent or discourage members from somehow signing the discharge petition.
So help me understand what we're considering right now. Does this resolution grant you any new authority?
No.
I think the resolution will send a signal if we end up in court. If, as the victim stated today, there's some of the most powerful and some of the richest names in the world were involved in a cover-up, we're going to end up in court. And I think the resolution will demonstrate that Congress is working in a bipartisan manner, not trying to be partisan, to get the truth to the American people and hold people accountable.
Yeah, why don't we do both? I mean, Mr. Massey, last time I checked, is a Republican. Other Republicans will sign that. I mean, why can't we do both?
I think we can. I think.
Excuse me, Mr. McCarthy, would the gentleman yield a moment?
Yes.
We can. We certainly can do
Okay,
both.
well, let's do-
We'll pass this resolution here, and then if sufficient people sign the discharge petition, then it will come out. And it's my understanding there is a significant difference in the resolution that we have here and the Massey resolution, and that is this resolution demands disclosure, whereas the Massey resolution does not. So I think we can do both, and let that happen. We want to show that we want this done in a very important way.
Well, if we can do both, then why is the Rules Committee standing in the way of allowing? I'm going to have a vote on the Massey counter resolution. Why would the Rules Committee? Why would Republicans of the Rules Committee block us from just bringing it to the floor? We could vote on both.
Because they've already started the discharge petition.
Well, that doesn't.
They've already started it.
Yeah, well, that's a nice. Well, that's whatever. That's I don't even want to say what I'm thinking about that answer. But let me just ask. This is a yes or no question. Does the administration have the power to release the Epstein files with appropriate redactions to protect the victims and the survivors? Do they have the authority to do that?
I think so, with the subpoena.
Yes.
All right, they do. But they're not. And Mr. Comey, this resolution that is before us right now says that you're investigating mismanagement that led to Mr. Epstein's death. Mm-hmm. Who was the President of the United States when Mr. Epstein died in custody? I
would assume it would have been Trump.
Yeah. And I have just one last question. You referred to Ghislaine Maxwell as a terrible individual. And I guess the question is, maybe you can enlighten us, what have you done to investigate why Ms. Maxwell was moved to a minimum security facility? I mean, she's a convicted child predator, sent to prison. She testifies before some people in the administration. She didn't testify. She answers questions that are put forward by somebody in this administration. She basically says the president didn't do anything wrong, and then all of a sudden is moved to a minimum security facility. Are you going to do? Have you done a hearing on that? Are you doing a hearing on that?
We've subpoenaed Ms. Maxwell. She sent a letter via her attorneys and said that she requested that we wait for the deposition until after the Supreme Court rules on her appeal. We're hoping that's this month. So as soon as the Supreme Court rules on her appeal, we'll go in and do a formal deposition. So Mr. Garcia will be there. I'll be there if he wants to be there.
I'm not interested.
And those questions can be asked. Those are legitimate questions.
Well, but I don't think Ms. Maxwell can answer those questions. I mean, I listened to some of her interview, and it sounded like there was no cross-examination. I'm just curious why, after she said what she said, was she moved? So it's not about Ms. Maxwell. It's about somebody made the decision to move her, which I don't think was expected. Mr. Garcia?
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be really clear. First of all, Democrats on the committee, we did not support moving Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony after the Supreme Court heard her appeal. In fact, that was a decision that the majority made that we did not support. We think that Ms. Maxwell, before she was interviewed by Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, should have been in front of a bipartisan committee in a deposition. And so, to be clear, and I think it's safe to say that it's an outrage and shameful that Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a facility where she is now more comfortable and has more access to folks both on the outside and her ability to move freely, when she has victimized over hundreds and hundreds of women. And I'll add one more thing to that. We've written to the DOJ, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, demanding answers, yet no response from the Attorney General. We have no idea why she was moved and who actually, at whose direction was she moved to that facility.
But she was moved, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, by this current administration, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think...
I would think that, you know, I mean, this is so outrageous that a big part of the investigation of your oversight committee should be on that as well. And I mean, I hope that you pursue that. But again, I think it is imperative that we pass the Massey kind of bill, because I think it does have the force of law, and because I don't trust this administration to basically. I mean, something's going on here. I don't know what, but there's a reason why everybody went from "we're going to release the files" one day to the next day saying we're not. So in the spirit of full transparency and the spirit of demanding that they do what they said they were going to do, I think I think we need to do more than what we're doing. Mr. Comer?
Yeah, I was just told by counsel the documents pertaining to the move would fall under the Department of Justice subpoena. So I think that's a fair question that I'm confident if we don't ask it, Mr. Garcia will whenever we're.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this whole episode has been outrageous and it's disgusting, and it's been strange, especially the way this Congress has dealt with it up to this point. And so some of us believe we ought to, we ought to also pass the Massey kind of bill, and I hope that we will do that. And I hope my friends on the Rules Committee will allow us to offer it, because I'll bring it up as an amendment. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McGovern. Ms. Fishbach, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am confused because the Oversight Committee is trying to do the investigation, trying to get the information, trying to get it released. They have been working on it most of August.
Yes.
A significant part of August. So I am confused as to why the Democrats are opposing this, because you are doing it in the way that it should be done, not some resolution added, like the Democrats attempted to in Rules Committee in the middle of, well, it wasn't the middle of the night, in the evening. But instead, this is a thoughtful way that you are handling this, bipartisanly. I understand, and so I am just really confused about that. And I just want to say that I thank you for doing what you're doing, because we obviously need to figure this out in a respectful manner, so we are protecting those victims who don't want to be publicized. We're doing it in an organized manner so that things happen in a transparent manner. And we are going to, and my understanding is you are going to disclose and publish everything.
Everything.
And so I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that, but I just wanted to point out how confused I am about this, because this is just grandstanding and political theater.
Absolutely.
From the other side, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
We want to know. I want to know. If you look at the roster of the committee, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Anna Paulina Luna, Nancy Mace, they want to know. I mean, they ask tough questions. And look, when Acosta is interviewed, there'll be some tough questions for him. He has a lot of questions that need to be answered with respect to some things. So we've not put a line down, we're only going after the Democrats. That happened in the past when the Democrats were in charge. They only went after Republicans. We want to get the truth, and it goes back. It spans 6 administrations. So look, for whatever reason, according to the victims today, and Dr. Fox was in there, Mr. Garcia was in there, they've been giving interviews to FBI and other government officials, people in various departments of justice for decades, and name names, and nothing's been done. You know, the Biden administration had an opportunity to release the Epstein files, and they didn't do it. You know, you go back. I mean, this is something that we're committed to doing, and we want to do. I want to be able to say the Oversight Committee, this was a big investigation. The American people are watching. I want everything out and open. So, you know, we're trying to do it, and we're trying to be bipartisan, and hopefully my friends across the aisle, I think the majority of the oversight Democrats are sincere and want to do this in a bipartisan way. Hopefully the Democrat leadership will let this be bipartisan and not play political games.
Thank you.
Would the gentlelady yield?
I will yield.
I'm confused too about something that Mr. McGovern said, that 97% of what's been released was already public information. I'm not sure why that's negative, because they keep saying that, okay, 3% is new, but now it's all available to the public. Is that correct? Because maybe it was released to some people, but now it's released to everybody, right? So everyone can see it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what the 3% is that hadn't been released before, whether it has any significance, but I'm confused, as the young woman from Minnesota is confused as to why are they downplaying that, or why are they saying that's a waste of time?
I don't know. It's not. And, you know, I think all of us during August, if we went out and met with constituents, they were all asking about this. The American people want to know. They would like. I've said this in a million interviews. They want to know, you know, who all was involved in the sex trafficking, what big names were taking advantage of those girls, and was the government involved? Those are the three questions, and I hope we'll be able to get as much information as possible. Look, this dates back, according to what we heard today from the victims, as far back as '96. So, you know, let's hope that there's still documents around. I've always had a huge distrust of the FBI and the Department of Justice under various administrations, and I've always had a theory that sometimes documents don't survive from one administration to the other. We're going to do everything we can to get that information, and I think this resolution's a step in the right direction. I don't think the other thing's needed.
I thank the lady for yielding.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, I just hope that the Democrats will stop the grandstanding and really, you know, work on the bipartisan oversight committee and making sure that these things are dealt with. I think it's a disservice to all of the victims to not work and to pretend that this is somehow bad, but focus on it and make sure. I'm asking the Democrats, make sure that it's bipartisan. Make sure that you're doing what needs to be done, the disclosure is done and the investigation is done. Because this isn't something that should be about political points. This is about something that we should investigate. And so with that, I just hope that they would come with us and help with the Oversight Committee investigation.
Thank you.
With that, I yield back.
Thank you.
Ms. Scanlon, you're recognized.
And I would yield to Mr. McGovern for a minute.
I'm sorry there's so much confusion on the Republican side of the aisle. I don't understand why we're just not all demanding that the administration release all the files. And we could do that if we were able to vote on the Massey counter resolution. But apparently we can't do that. And forgive me if I'm just a little bit suspicious about all this going on here, because I mean, I've been on this committee all year with all of you, and I have watched as we have weaved and dodged and avoided bringing anything to the floor dealing with this. And I've also, you know, we began our August recess early because none of you wanted to take a vote and hold this administration accountable, and you ran out of town. So again, and you know, want to do something bipartisan? Maybe we all can join on a bipartisan appeal to this administration to find out why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved to a cushy facility after she exonerated Donald Trump. So I'm sorry. I mean, we've lived through the last several weeks as Republicans have tried to avoid dealing with this issue. And so I hope, and I trust that there's bipartisan cooperation on the Oversight Committee, and I want that investigation to move forward. But for the life of me, I do not understand why the administration, after promising to release all the files, has chosen not to. So that's what I'm confused about. I thank the gentlelady for yielding.
Thank you. Mr. Comer, I think in your introduction, just for folks who are trying to play catch up here, because there's a lot of details and a lot of names being thrown around, you said that one of the issues here is that the U.S. attorney who initially handled Mr. Epstein's case gave him a sweetheart deal. That's right, isn't it?
Was the initial U.S. attorney was who?
Well, you didn't name him, but it was Alex Acosta, right?
I don't know if he was the initial, but he was one of them. Yeah, he
Yeah.
gave him,
So he was the U.S. attorney appointed by George Bush in
One of
Florida,
them,
whatever
yes.
district, and he's the one that gave the deal to Epstein, where he served a couple months, but basically got out on release every day, despite all the horrific crimes that we now know occurred. Okay, and in his later career, he became Secretary of Labor in the first Trump administration, right? And he had to leave after reporting disclosed this sweetheart deal. Is that right?
I don't know what caused him to leave, but
It was about that time.
okay.
So, Mr. Garcia, I know we've heard that you've received some materials. Are there redactions in those materials?
Yeah, there are appropriate redactions. We will be able to review the full materials. There'll be some opportunity to review the materials without some redactions from the committee staff and committee members that don't put any of the victims in harm's
Obviously.
way. But there are some, again, the reality about the materials, though, is there's nothing really with a small amount, a couple thousand pages of new information. And all the information was first given to right-wing influencers back in February, and then has been released to the public, whether it's been through the media or other ways. And so we can get the full files today. We know the DOJ has them. They're not answering our questions. We're asking when are we getting the rest of the files. We get no response. And to clarify one thing, Ms. Gallen, I think it was said earlier by another member of the committee that we're somehow opposing this resolution, or we're not opposing anything. We want full disclosure. If the majority wants to put together a resolution to add to more disclosure, that's fine. But that resolution should in no way supplant the discharge petition or serve as some kind of distraction to not get the full Congress on record to release all the files.
Okay. I mean, I guess I was asking about the redactions because there's been reporting that under Attorney General Bondi, hundreds of FBI and DOJ man-hours have been dedicated to redacting all references to the president. So is there anything to indicate that the materials you've received thus far contain some of those redactions?
So we believe that the materials that we've received so far there are redactions in there. We are reviewing some of those redactions currently. The team still is. But we believe that a vast majority of those documents are actually not presenting any new information. And we do believe there are important and critical documents that we have not yet received from the DOJ that contain important information to this investigation, and we have yet to see those.
Do you have explanations for the redactions that you have seen thus far? Have those been provided by DOJ?
We do have some explanation of some of the redactions, but there are no documents in what we have been presented that are of concern as it relates to redactions.
I'm just concerned because that is one of the pieces of the Massey underlying legislation, which is that to the extent the DOJ turned over any materials, it would have to explain any redactions
That's right.
or claims of privilege or whatever. And I
But
think
that's important, certainly in future documents. So
Yes.
as more documents come forward, ensuring that that is a piece of it is going to be important.
And I guess going back to this issue of Ghislaine Maxwell getting this cushy assignment, my understanding is that when she was moved to this new facility, that was against Bureau of Prison regulations, and someone higher up from the White House or the Attorney General's office would have had to excuse that normal Bureau of Prison rule.
That is
right?
correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to add?
just that I think that Republicans should join Democrats on the Oversight Committee and others in demanding answers as to why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved and who gave the orders